This is a story about an idea. An idea that started from a simple question. That question was the spark that would change an industry. You see, ideas are like people. They need to breathe and grow. They need nurturing. They need teamwork and a singular shared vision. Sometimes that can be really difficult. This is a story about just that. I first came to Washington in probably 1981 on a senior class trip. I grew up in South Georgia and we didn't take a lot of trips. This was as far as I may have ever been at the time. And I fell in love with Washington on that trip. I always wanted to come back, never knew how I would get here. When I did get back, it was in law school at Georgetown University. And again, after leaving law school, I found that I needed to go back south, back to my roots, but all the while I enjoyed the time I spent in Washington. Always felt like Washington was home. So in 2001, I came back to Washington and I've been here ever since. Washington is such a transient area with so much of Capitol Hill turning over and people coming and going that you can easily break into the Washington scene, I believe. And I think Washington creates a lot of opportunities for people who move here, who enjoy the ability to get involved in the community, and those opportunities can open themselves up right away.
I mean, I definitely think Washington is unique from the obvious standpoint of our political center here and the things that we deal with, but it's also been just an innovation center in general.
We're talking about technology companies, biotech companies, GovCon, aerospace and defense, and retail, and real estate. And you really need to do a lot of your homework. You need to understand it and be interested in it and be curious about those industries so you can have an intellectual conversation with your clients. To me, it all goes back down to fundamentals, which is around knowing your client, doing your homework, building that relationship from the ground up, shaking people's hands, getting to meet them live, and starting a foundation of a true relationship and a friendship.
I think one of the most important parts of our role here in the metro area is to enhance our brand, to be the biggest and boldest brand we can be in the marketplace. You know, it starts with relationships, but you need the brand to accentuate the relationships. You need the brand to stand on its own so that people, when they see the brand, they know who you are and what you stand for. Our brand will be enhanced as we move into the future, and we're going to continue to push the envelope on making our brand the biggest that it can be for our marketplace here.
Tim and I actually started working together about 15 years ago when I first joined this office. He was working for a client here and I supported him on that account, so he and I go back quite a ways. He always had innovative ideas and he was always wanting to bring different ways to engage with clients. And I think that's one of the reasons why he and I get along so well is we think big.
Big ideas are powerful because they get under your skin and you can't let them go. It's when you don't have a big idea that you begin to just sort of go into a bit of hiding. And we're not going to do that here.
I think what really separates us from many other sports and entertainment organizations is the ownership group that we have. I mean, Ted Leonsis is our majority owner and chairman and CEO, and Ted is truly a tech pioneer. But more importantly, Ted's commitment to customer service and delighting fans, I think really is best in class in our industry. So Ted, as part of his ownership group, has about 20 other partners. Many of them are, tech pioneers themselves. And when it comes to innovation and being first movers, it's something that's really near and dear to our hearts.
I think at the heart of all brands is the trust that a consumer has in you. And if a consumer believes that you'll be innovative and first to market, they will follow you and be very excited and anticipate what you're going to bring to market next. And so Monumental Sports and Entertainment, we've always tried to be first, and we want to bring that sense of innovation and expectation to our customers, our sponsors, and our community at large.
We put a lot of passion behind what we do as an organization and a business, and we feel like we want to be, and we are, hopefully exemplars in our community of really bringing people together and making sure as we bring people together that they have an innovative, a tech-oriented experience, and hopefully some of the memories that they have are Hall of Fame moments that they experience here at Capital One Arena, but also opportunities for people to cherish the moments and have an incredible bonding experience, whether they're a corporation and a business or it's really from a consumer standpoint. So, we've been very fortunate on that end, and we've always been first movers in many spaces. I mean, whether it's the OTT space with our Monumental Sports Network, the esports space, certainly most recently the sports betting space, and where we are here in the greater Washington region in Washington, D.C., it's not only the nation's capital. From my perspective, it's the global capital, and we certainly have a very diverse marketplace. Certainly the business to government side is really unique within the 190 embassies, and having teams in both the NBA, the NHL, which are global sports, allows us to really go far reaching outside of this greater Washington region. But we've got a great business to business community that really cares about the marketplace, and I think being a convener of live sports events or even live entertainment events where we have 20,000 people coming to our facility allows us to develop really great alignment with our partners and making sure that people have a great experience overall.
An Ignition Center is an immersive experience where we're bringing clients in to solve complex business problems and help them innovate. But Ignition is not just a physical space. Ignition is a set of capabilities that includes strategic intelligence, design thinking, our visual creative design assets, as well as our emerging technology storytelling. A lot of our competitors are very much focused on the space and the experience itself, but our team is bringing in insights. We're bringing in a better understanding of the unknown around these signals of change to help our clients think about problems that they're facing in their business differently.
You know, we had a suite salesperson from Monumental Sports who kept incessantly emailing me and calling me. And I didn't want a suite at all. I had no interest in a suite just to attend events or to have people go there.
I had seen that Tim was recently promoted and brought up to manage the region. That is usually a time of, a little bit of change within companies and usually provides, opportunity for new conversations, new ideas. A Hail Mary is probably almost making it seem more likely than I expected for him to reach back out. It's a managing partner of a Big Four firm. I always take my shot, but you make that reach out and you're really very much expecting never to hear back. So I kind of wondered right from the get-go, what was going on there? Why, of all people, did he reach out to me? I was very interested to kind of see where things would go, and it ended up being even more interesting and more dynamic than honestly I could have ever dreamed about.
I finally gave in, so his persistence paid off. And we were invited to come down and see the suites. It was a hockey game, and they did a very nice presentation to us. They first showed us the landscape. Who owns suites? What do our competitors do? And then they took us into a room and they started describing to us how we could use the suite any way we wanted to. We could dress it up any way we wanted to. We could make our brand as big and as bold as we wanted to in that suite. I said, I've got a question. I raised my hand and said, can we use the suite during the day? And you could hear a pin drop in the room.
Gosh, I have not heard this one before. I think league-wide, the answer would have been no. It was certainly, nobody's ever done this kind of thing here in this arena. And so when he asked, given what I know about Monumental Sports and Ted and our team, that we like being the first ones to try different things like this. And I, certainly told him that this was something that I think we could make happen, and I think we'd work hard to make happen.
And they said, yeah, you can use the suite all day long. And I thought, well, that's interesting. We can brand it however we want. We can use the suite during the day. What if we got a large suite and put an innovation lab in it? Wouldn't it be great to go from an innovation think tank event into an event at night where you see the innovation of artists or sports teams or all sorts of different types of innovation? And would that fuel sort of additional creativity? Would that give us a leg up, a differentiator?
And I'll never forget when we walked into the soon-to-be KPMG Innovation Lab. It sort of seemed like a light went off over his head, and obviously talked a lot of different ideas, and I guess the rest was history.
So this idea and this process had started before I joined the team. But it was one of the first things that Tim talked about and said, I want to make the suite in the arena into an Ignition Center. And at first I didn't really know what that meant. But the more that we talked about it and the more he explained the vision that he had, it made perfect sense.
I said, that is amazing. If we could make that happen, that would be a huge differentiator. And I thought I was skeptical if we could make it happen just because of whether we would get firm support for it or not.
And so this idea was not only big in the sense that it was something new and something different than what other markets were doing, it was going to take a lot of work to try and really convince people that this is a new way of doing business.
I understood, and from my first meeting with Tim, that one of his primary focuses would be our brand presence in this market. We have a strong brand. We have a brand to be proud of. And he wanted us to be more bold in how we actually went out into the marketplace and represented the brand.
I've been to the ignition centers that we have in New York, and I've seen the power that they can have with our clients and really believed we needed one here. That idea, coupled with the suite and the entertainment value, that we can have a much broader experience for our clients and our targets, I honestly thought it was a brilliant idea.
When we first heard of the desire to build this suite in the Cap One Arena, one of the things that resonated with us was Monumental's objective to make the arena more innovative and to really be showcasing innovation as a differentiator for this arena and for the DC market and the community. And so what better way to bring innovation into the suite than to have our Ignition team and capability part of this space?
It's pretty dynamic, and if you think about it, it makes sense for the way that the business is changing and how we're engaging with those clients.
I think that the Innovation Lab, being situated within the Capital One Arena, truly in the heart of Washington, D.C., allows KPMG to be prominently placed. That's a point of pride. I think a point of pride for us as members of KPMG to see ourselves centered within such an important part of Washington, D.C. Through the billboard, through the placement, through being in an organization or in an environment where really so many exciting things are happening in D.C.
We are too shy about the brand sometimes, and I think this gives us the opportunity to be very bold about the brand. I presented the idea to Tandra. She was immediately interested, and yes, we had to have a number of discussions about that to make sure that the idea tested out well enough and that the space was large enough and that we had access rights that we needed to have. But Tandra and the team, the CFO, David Turner, now Mark McCauley, they've all been extremely supportive of the process and so extremely supportive of thinking boldly in our marketplace.
I knew if he was bringing it to me, it was something that he thought was going to be a game changer for the market, and he would have the commitment to see it through. Because it could be the great vision, it could be a great execution to build something that could be meaningful, but if you don't have the commitment to bring the partners and the clients along so that it is effective and impactful, we still won't get the value. So I trust that Tim is going to knock it out of the park on all of those dimensions. And so he already had a leg up when he brought it to me. I knew he wasn't going to half bake it. He was going to bring to me something that was well thought out, was going to be a game changer, and he personally was going to be invested in making it the game changer that it needs to be in our market.
Have you ever been in a room where all of the doors were locked and you couldn't get out? How do you find a way out of that? That is the challenge that I think we were presented with. Let me explain the story. We're the second or third largest market in the firm. We've got a considerable federal practice that cannot travel, so they can't go to see our great innovation, our data and analytics in an Ignition Center in another city. And we have a lot of market share we can chase here. So we have a lot of room to grow, and we can do that here. We first made the pitch for an Ignition Center here in Metro DC when I first entered the role back a little over 2.5 years ago. And we put together a great business plan. Our marketing team did a phenomenal job of laying out the case for why an Ignition Center made sense here. And we didn't get the approval for the investment. Other cities did. So I'm in a room, and it feels like all the doors are locked. And I don't know how we're going to get out. And then I think we found a door, and that door is meeting with Monumental to talk about how we might be able to equip a suite to function as an Ignition satellite office, as an innovation lab that could allow us to be different and differently positioned in our marketplace. And that doorknob turned. So we thought we were out, only to find out that COVID came in 6 days later and shut down the entire city. here in Washington, March 17th sort of marks the day when everybody realized that we were facing into a pandemic that would influence our lives for the foreseeable future. And I'm going to be honest with you, at the moment that happened on March 17th, we thought that would be a month. So I thought I'll come back a month later, turn that doorknob, and we'll walk through that door. And then you know the rest of the story, right? It didn't quite work that way.
So when the pandemic hit, I think that it took everyone by surprise. And initially, we were prepared to be shut down, if you will, working from home, hunkered down for probably a couple of weeks. But as the city disappeared, the traffic disappeared, the people stayed at home, restaurants were closed, and you had these reports of positive cases, and no one knew how to react to the positive cases, and you're revisiting policy, and we're trying to sustain operations. We actually had to figure out how we would continue to bring people into this office for essential services.
Well, you know what? I would say the last 2 years for our industry, I mean, there's probably been no other industry that's been as affected like the live events business. And we went 2 years without having our arena filled to capacity. It was quiet. Our building was quiet.
It's the entertainment industry, it's hospitality. That industry was hit so hard during COVID. That was probably the toughest thing that any of us have had to deal with. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to bounce back again. We were actually not able to come into the office because of COVID, and we had never had any remote work before because we're in the arena. We have over 200 events a year. Our business is in this building. So we had to really pivot from a professional standpoint to make sure us and our employees were comfortable working from home. And then again, to maintain that trust that we have with our clients, I had to take a proactive approach to make sure that they understood that I'm still thinking of them.
Look, if ever there was a time when an idea had a time to die, it would have been during COVID. So there was something infectious about the vision of doing something different in the marketplace that sort of became infectious to us. And I couldn't let the idea go.
We had the opportunity to spend the time to tell the story, to really get people to embrace the vision and understand that this is a moment for us.
Month after month after month of Teams calls and working from home and not seeing groups in person and having to make the case that when we begin to see light at the end of the tunnel, we need to be able to turn that door handle and walk through that door. That was a very, very difficult proposition for us. We had to keep working it and rethinking it and rethinking it. The idea itself, I thought, was so unique and so novel. I think this one has some staying power, and it did.
When you have passion, when you have commitment from multiple parties, when you have commitment from a leader that's really going to see it through sort of the last mile once this thing is up and standing, then you know you've got the recipe for success, and it's just how do you go about executing it.
But boy, getting there was, it was, a marathon would be understating how difficult it was to get there. It was a marathon with hurdles on it. Or if you've ever seen the Grand National race that they run in the UK, the horses don't just run around an oval, they have to leap over hurdle after hurdle after hurdle, and they have to run the course twice. And that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like to us.
Then numbers move around as you would expect with these things. So I had a moment of pause, okay, we've got to be mindful of the spend and how far we go out of the range that we were anticipating. But we thought about it and thought, this is really an opportunity to do something special. We wanted to do an Ignition Center in DC. This gives us the best of both worlds, and there's commitment on the backside of this with Tim and the team. Let's make it happen and let's do it right.
Most big ideas are simple and get executed in a way that the community says, why didn't I think of that? That was so obvious. And we own this building and we pay a mortgage on it 24/7, 365 days a year. Yet we play our games from 7 to 10 o'clock at night. And it always amazed me that we would literally put a cage up to lock our fans out and not open that cage till 6. And so I've always felt that if we could find ways to make the building come alive more hours of the day, 24 hours, it would be best for our community, it'd be great for our fans, and it would be great for us as a business.
On event days, we are in preparation mode. Typically, most of our events start at 7 o'clock for most games and concerts, and suite owners have access to their suite starting 90 minutes prior to puck drop or tip-off. So we need everything in place by 5:30. Catering orders need to be submitted. Beverage restocks need to be in all the fridges. Everything needs to make sure that it's meticulously cleaned so we are show ready when our doors are open, and our clients have the most top-notch experience when they walk through the entire arena doors and then when they enter their suite doors. So that's why when this KPMG idea kind of came forward, that we were going to have someone in the building prior to us being completely show ready, that's new and different. It's similar to having your parents over the next day when you've had a party the night before and you haven't cleaned up yet. So just trying to figure out how we were going to show this behind the scenes look made me a little nervous at first, because you always want to make sure everything is absolutely clean. They don't need to see the behind the scenes of how we get there. But on the flip side of that, that's also what makes this really cool, is because no one's ever seen this before.
With a concept as unique as this, we had to enlighten a lot of different people in our organization to what we're trying to achieve and how we're going to accomplish that. From having people in at different hours of the day or longer duration than what we're normally accustomed to, that's going to impact our building ops folks. It's going to impact our marketing folks in being able to tell the story, our productions folks in capturing that content, and so on and so forth. Really gaining everybody's buy-in was part of the process.
I think one of the craziest moments of this whole negotiation was when we got to the very end. We thought we were there. And then Monumental themselves, I think, realized what we had actually asked for. And I think they began to get cold feet. And I think they began to realize, wait, we've never operated like this before. How do we do this? You talk about a cliffhanger moment. As we were dotting the I's and crossing the T's on what we thought were the most important things, which was access during the day and how many days of dark days when they're not actually in the arena, that was when Monumental thought, oh my, they actually want to get into this dark building when nobody's here. I remember it started to unravel. I remember I was pretty upset that we had gotten this far, that we'd gotten all the approvals we needed internally, and that this might unravel at the very end. I ended up going down to an event, and this is the beauty of in-person meetings, not Teams meetings, not Zoom meetings, that when we were able to sit together in a room and just say, so what are you actually worried about? And we could read body language really well, we could see the concern, and then we could say, well, wait a minute, we can pay for that, or we can adjust our expectations on this side.
There was a lot of key issues that we had to collaborate on with KPMG, and I think in the spirit of partnership we were able to overcome those. But what we were doing was radically different than really any other venue has done before.
That's when we knew, honestly, that moment, and it was after the most stressful moments of the 2.5 years of discussions. But it was at that very moment that we knew we had a great partner here.
There is definitely a process that you need to go through, and I would never say that our partnership was at risk. I mean, I think it was a lot of dialogue back and forth, and hey, the good thing on that night that you're talking about is the Capitals ended up winning that game. So, you know what, there was a lot of good outcomes that came out of it. We finalized our deal together in our partnership, and the Caps won that game, and, you know, hopefully, knock on wood, we win a lot more games on the Capitals and Wizards side as we move forward. We were taking a suite that really is a 3-hour experience for a company or a consumer and really transitioning this into a business development lab. So there were a lot of ebbs and flows of kind of our rules, processes. We had a lot of people that we had to kind of, you know, cultivate and get over some immediate hurdles on something that was probably a little bit different and unique than anything we experienced.
I had no idea the amount of operational things I was going to learn getting involved with this KPMG project. From lighting programmers, which I did not know was a thing, cable installations, removing the restroom in the suite to create that into a server closet, which is something I would have never thought of. The number of vendors and the number of people that have come through here and have touched this project is truly remarkable.
Fortunately, Monumental, we have great teamwork, and the group at KPMG was fantastic in helping explain what we're trying to accomplish, and over time we gained everybody's buy-in, and we're so excited at the finished product and moving forward into a launch.
We have been able to work together to accomplish something that is going to be talked about and called upon, and I'm sure that everyone's phones are about to be blowing up because this is truly something that is so imaginative and outside the box, and nobody else has it, and it exists here between KPMG and Monumental.
The relationship with Monumental really developed into a number of conversations that have led into other opportunities. And not one thing in particular. It's been a multitude of different avenues that we've explored together. And I don't think that would be possible without a great partner like Monumental.
Look, we know that whenever you try anything in business, things could work, things could not work. But so often we only do the things that we know will work. This is one where we don't know, and we're going to try it, and I think it's going to work. I think it's going to be fabulously successful.
We have been, you know, first to market in many other things, and we've had a lot of things that have worked really well, and we do it more, and we've had a lot of things that have failed, and I don't think we worry about failure. I feel like we worry about what can make a difference, and that's what I felt like as we were going through the conversations when we really did checks and balances of what's great about the idea, what is going to be challenging of it. And at the end of the day, for us, it was like, this is something that's going to be a game changer, and why wouldn't we do this?
I just found out this morning I'll be the doorman for KPMG Ignition DC. I remember a phrase my mom used to say, I just keep showing up to see what happens next. Well, today, we're showing up to see what happens next. I think about all the years in this business, could never imagine KPMG Ignition DC or a suite like this, and it's not just for our concerts, for our hockey games, for our Washington Wizards. It's every day, and you start to think, wow, maybe I will be the doorman, because why not show up for a meeting and do a little brainstorming and, oh, by the way, stay for a game for the rest of the night.
By the vision of KPMG, I think we're special in creating something that's really unique and transformational in our industry. And I'm excited today to introduce everyone to the KPMG Ignition Center here at Capital One Arena.
You know, we're a very quiet firm, and our brand is a wonderful brand, but not often seen brand. And I asked the question, can we use it during the day? And they said, sure, you can use it during the day. And that's what started the dialogue. And we go from a quiet, worthy brand to a distinctive, unique, differentiated brand overnight.
This is truly amazing to see the brand come to life, to see our brand message in so many different places. That's really when you connect, when you can, feel like you're in an immersive experience. Then you really get to know, you really start to feel favorable and start to feel like you know KPMG as a company.
I think the sign over the Ignition Suite right now reads, KPMG Ignition lives here. Exactly. Exactly.
We did a demo for all of our guests to see the true capabilities of what our suite can actually do. I think there may have been some speculation that it was just a fancy suite with a lot of nice big screens, but once you get to see the technology and how to interact with it, I think people were really wowed by what we're able to do in that space for clients down the road.
The best things in life are things that take a little time to percolate. This idea, it's probably better now than it was when we first had it 2.5 years ago because of what the pandemic has done to all of us. We don't know what the future of office space will look like in toto. It will come back to some extent. But we do know people are going to go to events. We do know they want to be a part of in-person engagement, and this provides the opportunity for us to do that.
There's something magical about stepping into a sports arena when it's not in use. Think about the players that you emulate or that you look up to or that you're fans of, particularly with the Capitals. You think about Alexander Ovechkin, one of the greatest NHL players of all time. He comes to the arena before a game, comes to the locker room, walks through when it's quiet, has that experience of that energy that's sort of sitting latent in an arena before a game.
I think you feel a little bit special, like you're getting something that other people don't necessarily get. When the fans aren't there, when the music isn't going, and you just get to sit there and look around, you can't help but have the memories just flash back of what the building's like when it's loud, things that have happened over the years.
It's so much more powerful than the experience coming to a standard office when you're coming to an arena where a professional team competes. We went through a time in this country where we weren't able to go to sporting events and people missed that, I think, that in-game experience that they would have. So this idea of a business suite takes that in-game experience and is able to expand it out to every day. I think that there's just something truly remarkable about that that's going to be going to fill this space, our space, with a new energy that we wouldn't typically have in a regular meeting.
I love the partner we're working with here. I think all along the way they've stayed as positive or more than we have through this, and their willingness to think about how it changes the world of sports going forward, how it changes the look and design of arenas going forward. They're now thinking, yes, we have a building that has 80% vacancy all of the time, and how can we change that in the new world? When you're dealing with a partner that begins to think that way, then I think the sky's the limit.
We believe that we're on the cusp of having 8 to 12 of these type of, business development centers for other industries. And what I'm really looking forward to is the first big partnership that KPMG is able to create with a new company out of the Ignition Center. I think that's going to be, fantastic, and I think it's going to be something that we all celebrate together.
Every executive that I mentioned this approach to is so intrigued by the thought difference and the way that we are creative and innovative just in the thought itself. I think the doors that will continue to open are going to be magnificent, and I fully expect us to engage in some forms of innovation that no one's ever dreamed of before, and to open new doors to brand recognition in this area that will be lasting. I do think it will be lasting.
If you just pause for a minute and think about the journey that we've been on with building out this Ignition Center, it started with a small nugget of a thought that was fueled by Tim's relationship and working with Monumental Sports that sparked thinking about how we could create value for our clients and an experience for our clients. And boy, the opportunity that's spurring out of that to really create something special, to create something that's bigger than we anticipated when we started, I'd say that's really bringing the brand to life in the market. That's a real story of how, maybe in the smallest of ways, we've turned just a thought and an insight that's been fueled by a lot of work and thinking and talent and analysis of people into now this great opportunity that we have before us. It's pretty cool stuff.
If Tim had never raised his hand at a suites meeting with Monumental inside Capital One Arena, he would have never asked the question, can we use this during the day? If that question had never been asked, we would not be here thinking in the world of possibilities that we have with Monumental. And I believe that because of that simple question, we now see the future in a totally different way with our brand, with our partnership with Monumental, with the future of sports, and it will have long-lasting effects for both of our organizations for a long ways to come.
Great. Cut it. Cut. In the end, we found it wasn't an ending at all. It turns out that it's the beginning. A door once locked led way to a new world of possibilities. It set the stage for new opportunities and new relationships. The simple asking of a question, the courage to see it through, working together. This is how ideas become a reality, and we're never looking back.